Hello and welcome to Gent Speak. I am your AI-generated announcer, Cody. James and I are glad that you could join us today. Gent Speak is a podcast that covers several different subjects, and as always, feedback is a plus. If you would like to be a guest on the podcast or have a subject for a show, just let us know by going to gentspeak.com and clicking on Contact in the menu. We will get in touch with you as soon as we can. And remember, November 19th is International Men's Day. Now, with that said, and without further ado, here is James.
Thank you, Cody. And as always, good to hear your voice. Today is Sunday, February 2nd, 2025. And all I got to say is, man, January went by fast. So now we're already into February, middle of tax season, or at least for some, tax season starting. I hate tax season. Can't wait till it's over. Today, I'm just going to do this episode because this is like take number 12 or whatever, so I'm just going to do it, flubs, bubs, and all. And I want to start with feedback from other episodes, namely episode 3, where Andy R. wrote in, and, like I said before, first sign of old age, you got to have cue cards, so I got my cue cards here. So Andy R. wrote in and he said, I consider you a friend and not just an acquaintance. And to that, I got to say ditto. I have met Andy R. in person and I consider him a friend and not just an acquaintance. I just not that. See, flubs, blubs. And I consider him not just an acquaintance as well. As a matter of fact, I have an open invitation to Andy to be on the show, and we're trying to coordinate to get him on a show with me. So I think that will be fun. He also writes, do we have to wear a t-shirt like yours? And to that I would say no, but if you want to, I have extras. And the story behind that is in episode 2, I had to redo it because I had mentioned the derogatory term for these type of t-shirts, and apparently you can't say that on YouTube. So some of you are going to know what I'm talking about, some of you may not. But anyway, all I know is you can't say that on YouTube. So kind of my way of getting back, I just wear the t-shirt. It's just going to be a every episode thing from now on. Another listener, James H., wrote in from episode 3, where we also discussed circumcision, and says that he is circumcised but not happy about it. I totally agree with you. I'm not happy about mine either. We're not born that way. We're not meant to be that way, and we don't need to be modified. However, he did state that he left his son intact, and to that I say, touche, man. Much respect. I left both of my boys. Hats off to you. I left both of my boys intact as well. He also stated that 2025 is going to be really weird. And to that, I got to say, amen, brother. Although I can't say that I'm sad to see 2024 go, but I think at the very least, 2025 is going to be interesting. I'm kind of of the opinion that I'm just going to put my seatbelt on and see what 2025 brings. Hopefully, it's better than 2024. Another listener, Chris, wrote in, and Chris, I have met in person, and I do consider him a true friend as well. We don't see each other very often or talk, but every time we do, it's kind of right where we left off. He actually did another podcast with me years ago. So I'm going to say, Chris, if you're listening or watching, this is an open invitation. I would love to have you as a guest on this show. Because it was a kick in the pants doing that other one with you. If I remember right, we were talking about, what was his name? That officer that killed his wife, and then they exhumed his first wife, found out he killed her too. But anyway, that's the last subject I can remember us talking about, and we were remarking how well he looked in silver bracelets, aka handcuffs. So yeah, if I remember right, we got a few comments on that one. Anyway, Chris writes in and he says that he likes my New York high-rise office, aka my background. Um, as I stated in the other episode, that's the office of my dreams, but I don't have the money, so I got to do the old background trick. But hey, maybe someday I'll have an office like that. Although I don't know if I would like it in New York, and it doesn't necessarily have to be in the high rise, but I'll take the windows and the furniture and the floor and all that and the lighting. But anyway, and then I did a segment of headlines around the world, which I had fun doing, and I'm going to do it again this episode. I think I want to make that a permanent thing. But one of them was that homicide victims rarely talk to police. Yeah, and so Chris writes in, he goes, homicide victims have a hard time telling anybody anything. That's true. And if anybody would know, it would be Chris and I, because we both work in the funeral industry. So, yeah, um, I would say that, yeah, homicide victims do have a hard time telling anybody anything. So, yeah. And the other feedback I got was for the comment about the constitutional republic, and was asked to explain it more or kind of specify. So here's the deal. Our system of government has checks and balances. It is supposed to be for the people, by the people, and of the people. And unfortunately, I would say due to corruption, it's not that way now, or at least not the way it should be. But in this constitutional republic, we do have democratic um, processes, i.e., one of them would be voting. So, yes, the voting is a democratic process, but our system and base and foundation of government and country is a constitutional republic. So that's the clarification there for anybody that was wondering or asked to clarify. The second one was the comment about the cops. Um, I'm just getting tired of, I mean, like I said in the last episode, cops, I think, are a necessary evil. Uh, there are good cops and there are bad cops. There's bad apples in every group. And I just am getting a little tired of hearing how bad cops are. And, cops are this bad, cops do this, cops do that. Well, again, there's bad apples in every group. And it's just frustrating sometimes. So that was what led to my comment of saying that if you hate cops just because they're cops, then next time you're in trouble, call a crackhead. Let us know how that works out for you. So yeah, that's the feedback. The other thing that I learned, and I have to share this because I had no idea. So I know most of us didn't pay attention that much in history class. We just did what we had to do to pass, or, I don't know. I was kind of interested in it, but I have been listening to the History Channel on YouTube the last couple of nights, and I did not realize that Gerald Ford, our president, was a vice president before he was president, was both vice president and president without receiving one single vote from the American people. As it turns out, that in 1973, Spiro Agnew had to resign because of tax evasion and money laundering. And so then Nixon appointed Gerald Ford as the new vice president. So there he was, vice president, didn't receive a single vote. Then, ironically, in August of 1974, Nixon, as we all know, resigned over the Watergate scandal, which then put Gerald Ford as president. So Gerald Ford served as president and vice president between 1973 and 1977 without receiving a single vote from the American people. So I thought that was really interesting, and so I thought I would mention it. So now you can say, now you know. Hold on for a sec. I drink cold coffee out of a glass jar here. I got to take a swig. Good stuff, meaning. All right. Um, I kind of want to talk because that is part of this show. Kind of speak from the heart. So it's been a year and a half now. A year, let's see, I moved up here a year and 10 months ago, about, let's see, October, a year and 3 months ago. Um, and things are progressing. Um, I'm still heartbroken. I think that I always will be, but I feel like I'm on the other side of the storm, you guess you would say. I do go to counseling every other week, and I am in a class up in Albany that I attend every week, and part of that class is the counseling every other week. And as resistant as I was to it at first, which that I think right there is a problem with guys. I think, and I'm not saying I think that's just a guy thing. We're always taught just suck it up and take it. Well, you know what? I don't really feel like having a stroke or a heart attack or whatever because I'm bottling it all up. So I had to eat some humble pie and admit that I needed some help, and so I did it, and I'm glad I did it, and it is helping. Um, like I said, heartbroken probably always will be, but starting to learn to cope and move on. So I highly encourage any of you, don't just bottle it up. Uh, find somebody you can talk to, somebody you can confide in, um, whether it be a counselor or a friend or whatever. I tend to withdraw, and I probably shouldn't, but I do. I tend to just kind of withdraw and stay to myself, and that cost me a friendship recently, actually. Um, but then at the same token, everybody's got a natural way of reacting, a natural way of coping. And so I don't think that you should push them in ways that they're not ready to go, but also be there if they need you. Is kind of what I'm trying to say. Um, yeah. So I'll keep you posted on that. I graduate from my class in 2 years, and so if you're listening, you're invited to my graduation. Just telling you right now, it's an open invitation. If you want to come, I'll let you know. Um, I'll be graduating in 2 years, and hopefully I can go from there to an internship and actually use my experience to turn around and help other people, other men. Um, Not to be sexist and leave women out, but there are a lot of resources for women and not for men. So I would concentrate on men for sure. And who better to do it than another man who's been through the same thing? So that's my take on that. Uh, Products I want to mention, like I did last time. So one of them, it's kind of funny, is I keep getting asked about my hat. So don't mind my messy hair. This is a Boston Scally. Um, and I have been actually in the store and had a guy stop me once and goes, "Hey, is that a Boston Scally?" And I'm like, "Yes, yes, it is." So if you all like to wear a hat and like me, figure anybody can wear a baseball hat and you kind of want something unique, then Boston Scally would be the way to go. They're called Boston Scally caps, and they're located at https:// or just type in your address bar bostonscally.com, and their website will come up and you can order from there. Um, I've got like 3 or 4 different hats, but I like this style and this color, so it may look like I'm always wearing the same hat. It's not, it's just the same style and color. So yes, Boston Scally, good caps, and good customer service actually as well. So the other one is Blue Jet Hosting, who actually hosts my Gent Speak website, and they are at bluejethosting.com. You can go there if you're in need of hosting services, website services, a place to host your website or park your domain. Um, Good bunch of people there. And that's at bluejethosting.com. You can actually sign up online or give them a call. The other service that I utilize is BlueJet Web Design and Online Backup, which is a what would you call a subsidiary? I can't say that word. Subsidiary of BlueJet Hosting. They do web design and online backup, and I utilize them for the online backup and backing my computers up online so it's off-site. You can go to bluejetweb.com. There's a phone number to reach them or a contact form that you can fill out if you are interested. And then last but not least, I have what they call a virtual server, and I do that through Wholesale Internet. And their website is just wholesaleinternet.com. And I think there's a contact number there as well. I think they provide other services besides virtual servers, but these guys are great. I signed up for my virtual server, and let's just say it didn't go well. It was not, yeah, it didn't go well at all. And those guys were so patient. Um, I want to actually give a personal shout out to Joe, Daniel, Seth, Russ, and Nathan. Thank you very much, guys. You were great. Customer support is outstanding. Um, those guys really earned the money for the first month. Kind of feel bad, but yeah, they were great. I even told them, you can dump me as a customer. Nope. They we got it going. We got it working, and I so appreciate that. So thank you very much again, Joe, Daniel, Seth, Russ, and Nathan. And if I have my way about it, I'm gonna steer the whole world that needs a virtual server to you guys. So kudos to you guys. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Um, so that would be my take for products. I do know that Chris mentioned that he uses Harry's as well, and I was like, yeah, I mean, he's like, that's so cool. Yeah, that cool Harry's is a good thing. They were in episode 3, I think. I will put, by the way, speaking of which, I will put links to all of these that I mentioned in this episode down in the comments so that you guys can look those up if you would like. So the other thing that I want to do is that I mentioned is headlines around the world, and I found some pretty good ones this time. So got my cue cards. Let's go. First headline says man stopped by police found to have been driving without a license for 72 years. 72 years. So I'm assuming, I read it and it didn't really say. So I'm assuming though that the only reason they know this is that would be the first time he got stopped in 72 years, is when they found out he didn't have a license. And he says he started driving at 12 years old. So if he drove for 72 years and only got stopped once and never had a license, I would say he's a better driver than most people with a driver's license. So I don't know if it didn't really say whether he got a ticket or not, but if I was the police officer, I don't think I'd give him a ticket. I might even help him study for his license. The next one is Tony Van, a 37-year-old San Francisco hairdresser, drove a stolen car to his own trial. And what was he charged with? You guessed it. Possession of a stolen car. So he was driving to his trial for a previous charge of possession of a stolen car, and he drove there in a stolen car. Man, he's a genius. All right. The next one is zoo separates 5 parrots after the birds were caught encouraging each other to swear at guests. They were egging each other on to swear at guests. Although my question would be, where did they learn the swear words? Unless one bird knew the swear words, and then taught the other birds. I've heard of one bird that can talk, teaching the others to talk. So that's a possibility. Or the guests were just so profane that the parrots picked up on it and learned from there. I don't know. But I think that's funny. Yep, they had to separate the parrots, 5 of them, because they were egging each other on to cuss it, to swear at guests. Um, oh, here's a good one. Florida man with drugs around his penis denies they were his. So apparently, there was a traffic stop resulting in the discovery of narcotics tied around a man's genitals, but he insists they didn't belong to him. Well, I guess my question would be, what is he talking about as far as didn't belong to him? The drugs or what they were tied around? But yeah, so there's another genius for you. Um, a pizza joint in Ohio went viral because in 2023 they put up a sign that said now hiring in big bold letters. But why would that make them go viral? Well, underneath those big bold letters it said non-stupid people. So the sign read now hiring non-stupid people. Well, I bet they got more. They got their employees they were looking for. When I read it, it said they got the employees they were looking for, and their business uh, went up. So it was a win-win situation. And I just say, hey, short, sweet, and to the point, it worked. Um, yeah, so I think that's the last. Oh no, I knew there was some more. I had my cards mixed up here. Let's see. A man was fired for pretending to be a ghost in a cemetery. Although it doesn't, oh, not fired. Sorry, I apologize. Man was fined for pretending to be a ghost in a cemetery. Which, considering my occupation, I think that it's kind of funny. But you have to have a weird sense of humor to do my occupation. And but what the comment after that is what's funny, I think is really funny, is this person wrote, and he would have gotten away with it if it wasn't for those meddling kids. So the guy was pretending to be a ghost in a cemetery, and he would have gotten away with it if it wasn't for those meddling kids. Now you have to be Generation X or Y or a baby boomer to get that immediately. I would think maybe a little later generation. But yeah, so for those of you who don't know, that was always the tagline for Scooby Doo when the bad guy would get caught. He'd say, "Oh, I would have gotten away with it if it wasn't for those meddling kids," which is why it cracked me up that somebody would comment about that. But yes, a man was fined for pretending to be a ghost in a cemetery. So, and last but not least, a woman survived after being declared, or not survived, sorry. A woman was surprised after being declared dead. Yeah, I think that I would be surprised as well. Um, but don't worry, it's all been fixed now. She got a letter from Social Security stating that they fixed it and she's alive again. So apparently, from reading the story, someone had passed away that had a similar Social Security number, and when they reported it, they had messed up the number, which happened to be this lady. And so she was surprised to find out that she had passed away, was declared dead, but don't worry, she's alive now. And there is one more. A woman going down the freeway in Florida was driving, and a turtle comes through her windshield and sets off her airbags. And so, first of all, that would be quite the surprise. But I hear the rumor is that the turtle yelled out "Cowabunga" before the airbags went off. Um, but don't worry, she's okay. No word on if the turtle survived. So, yes. And of course, Cowabunga part is a joke, but I thought that was funny. So, yeah. Can you imagine driving down the road and a turtle flies through your windshield? How would you explain that to your insurance? But anyway, all right. Another thing I wanted to cover is I was kind of being nostalgic these last couple of weeks and thinking back to the 70s and the 80s and what what we don't have anymore, what I kind of miss, what I don't miss. And there's, the list could go on and on and on. I'm just talking personally of stuff that I saw or that I did that I kind of miss. And I think, well, for instance, skating rinks. I used to love to skate. I would still go skating if we had a skating rink. Although at 52, almost 53 now, in some amount of days, um, if I tried to do half of what I used to do on roller skates, I'd probably fall and break a hip. So, but I would still go just for the exercise. I looked it up to see how many skating rinks were actually still open, and boy, it's slim pickings. I think the nearest one to me is in Portland that I know of. I know there used to be one in North Bend that opened. I know there was one when I first moved there that closed down and they tore the building down, and then they reopened in like an old McKay's um, grocery store. And I don't know if that one is still there or not. The other thing I was thinking is, how many skates per rink there was? Probably 500,000 or more roller skates per rink, and then all of them closed down. Where'd all those roller skates go? That would be kind of interesting to find out. The other thing, arcades. Don't see arcades anymore, or at least very few, if any. Um, Used to have a lot of fun in those. Never had a pocket full of quarters, but I had some quarters, and I think I had more fun, playing the games, but then also chit chatting and just hanging out with friends. That was always a good time. Um, They had an arcade when my kids were little, but it was more of a game room type thing. And if I remember right, it was called Joey's Arcade. You would pay to get in. And if I remember right, you'd pay to get in, and the games were free. But he also had like Nintendo, uh, Sega Genesis, PS2, 3, 4 machines, whatever, plus video games that we remember as kids, the 80s stuff. Um, but he had big, huge screen TVs for the video game consoles. Um, so was it really an arcade? I think an arcade is more just arcade games and not video game consoles, but they called it an arcade, and my kids used to have fun there. So I guess that's all that counts. The other one I don't miss. I always thought were stupid, and I'm glad they're not around, or at least not that I know of, are parachute pants, or also known as MC Hammer pants. Those things to me just seem to be like they would be so uncomfortable. And again, I thought they looked so stupid, and how anybody moved in them, I don't know. Swatches. I loved swatches. I would still have a swatch if I could. Um, those were cool. They were just analog, little analog watches. They were cheap, could come in different colors. Of course, I didn't care whether they matched what I was wearing or not, but I just thought they were cool. And I actually had a couple of them. Don't know where they are or now. They're probably long gone, dead. But I would have one today if I could. Rubik's Cube, same thing. I actually still have one. Could never solve it. I always did that, where you cheat, take it apart, put it back together, and it'd be all solved thing. That's the only way I could ever do it. But I still have one, and I think they're cool. Um, Koosh balls. That was something I never got I could never figure those out. I think they were weird. I mean, they were okay, but I didn't quite get the concept, I guess. It's maybe one of those things where, kind of like the pet rock, what were those, the 90s and 2000s, but, you couldn't understand the concept, but you couldn't quit looking at it or whatever, just dumb. I think, however, Time Magazine did name the Koosh Ball as one of the 100 greatest toys. So I guess to each his own on that one. The Trapper Keeper. Oh, I loved my Trapper Keeper, but I was a nerd in school, so I loved my Trapper Keeper. And it was so handy. And those I actually looked up, and you can get them still on Amazon for like $15. So maybe they're not dead and gone totally. Pagers. Before cell phones, I had a pager about that big. Um, and you don't see those anymore or very often. Although, you didn't have to be a drug dealer in the 80s to have one. A lot of people had them. They actually, after looking up pagers, were invented, which I didn't know this, by a person named Al Gross in 1949. And they were actually using pagers in the 1950s, but the geographical area was really small. So they were mostly limited to like hospitals, campuses, stuff like that. Although I'm wondering, with the technology back then, I wonder how big they were. Did it kind of like, did you have to like throw them over your shoulder? Could they fit on your belt? Did you need a suitcase to carry them or what? But yeah, so they actually had pagers back in the 50s. That was kind of a surprise for me. And then last but not least, and I'm so glad, never had one myself, and I'm so glad, although I think the other day somebody said something they were making a comeback, and that is mullets. Um, what do I say to that? Nope, 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 nope. Would never have a mullet. Never did. I don't think. No, I take that back. I did. I got to eat some humble pie. I was going through old pictures the other day, and I guess you would say I had a mullet. Of course, I didn't know it was a mullet at the time. I don't know if it was a full mullet, but yeah, it was an 80-ish style that way. Of course, that was back when I had hair and it was nice and dark and not gray, and I wasn't so old. Such an old geezer. So yeah, that's about it. I appreciate all of you guys. I appreciate you listeners. As always, it's an open invitation to be on the show. Just go to gentspeak.com and fill out the contact form. I would love to have you on the show. I want to have, I'm yet to have my first guest. So if you want that dubious distinction, let me know. I'm be glad to have you on. Conversation topic is open to whatever you want to talk about. This is, as originally stated, a place for men, gents, and or dudes to just be men. We every subject is open, no judgment. I think we need more places like this for men to just be men and um, talk about men's issues, and it can be anything serious, funny, off the wall. Like we talked about one time, our first cars. I would like to hear barbecue horror stories or, you know, whatever. It's open. So this is an open invitation. You guys are welcome to be on the show if you would like. And with that, I'm going to say peace out.